Stop wasting your money on calcium. I'm serious. Put it down for a second and listen. After 40 years in the ER, I can tell you something most people don't want to hear. The majority of seniors I treated who broke a hip, a wrist, or their spine were already taking calcium every single day. So what went wrong? Here's the truth no one explains. About 99% of seniors don't have a low calcium problem. They have a body that doesn't know what to do with it. Right now, inside you, calcium is not just sitting in your bones. It's moving. And if your system is off, it goes to the wrong places. I've seen it harden arteries. I've seen it do absolutely nothing while bones keep getting weaker. And this is where I get frustrated. Because you've been told a simple story your whole life. Take calcium, fix your bones. That's not how the body works. That's just the easiest thing to sell. I've looked at scans. I've seen patients who did everything right. Pills every morning, still ended up fragile. Not because they were careless, because they were missing the real trigger that tells the body where calcium should go. In this video, we will reveal 5 powerful foods that work up to 20 times better than calcium alone. They are ranked from the least to the most powerful, and the number 2 food is the one I wish I could go back and give to every patient before things got worse. There are real references behind this, and you can find them in the description. Before we dive in, here's a quick question. How long have you been taking calcium and how old are you? I read every comment because I want to hear what's really happening with you. Now, let's begin with food number 5, and this one alone might change how your body handles calcium starting today. Number 5, canned sardines with bones. Most people walk right past the canned fish aisle without a second thought, but that is a mistake that could be costing your skeleton dearly. Canned sardines eaten with their soft, edible bones are one of the most bioavailable sources of calcium that exists in any grocery store. A standard 3-ounce serving contains roughly 325 milligrams of calcium, which is actually more than a full glass of milk. But here is where sardines pull ahead of supplements by a wide margin. The calcium in sardine bones comes pre-packaged with 2 critical cofactors that supplements almost never include together. The first is vitamin D3. Sardines are one of the few foods that naturally contain meaningful amounts of this vitamin, delivering about 175 international units per serving. Vitamin D3 is the master switch that activates calcium absorption in your small intestine. Without it, your gut can only absorb about 10 to 15% of the calcium you eat. With adequate vitamin D3 present, that absorption rate jumps to 30 or even 40%. The second cofactor is phosphorus, which works alongside calcium in a very specific ratio to form hydroxyapatite crystals. These crystals are literally the mineral building blocks of your bone matrix. A 2018 study published in the Journal of Nutritional Science tracked 440 older adults over 2 years and found that those who consumed whole small fish with bones at least 3 times per week had 4.7% greater bone mineral density in the lumbar spine compared to those relying on dairy or supplements alone. That is a meaningful difference when you are over 70, because at that age you are typically losing 1 to 2% of bone density per year. The omega-3 fatty acids in sardines add another layer of protection. Research from the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition showed that EPA and DHA, the 2 main omega-3s in fatty fish, reduce osteoclast activity. Osteoclasts are the cells that break down old bone. When their activity drops, your body shifts the balance toward building bone rather than losing it. The best way to get maximum benefit from canned sardines is surprisingly simple. Choose sardines packed in olive oil rather than water because the fat-soluble vitamin D3 absorbs significantly better in the presence of dietary fat. Eat them on whole grain toast with a squeeze of lemon juice. The vitamin C from the lemon enhances mineral absorption even further. Aim for 3 servings per week and always mash the bones gently with a fork so they blend right into the fish. You will barely notice they are there, but your bones absolutely will. Something even more powerful is waiting at number 4. But before we continue, if you have been enjoying the video so far, hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you don't miss more videos like this. Number 4. Dried figs. Here's a food that almost nobody associates with bone health. And that is a real shame because dried figs are a calcium powerhouse hiding in plain sight. Just 5 dried figs deliver approximately 135 milligrams of calcium. That alone is respectable, but the real story is what happens after that calcium enters your body. Dried figs contain a unique combination of potassium, magnesium, and prebiotic fiber that creates what researchers call an ideal absorption environment. Let me explain what that means. Your body absorbs calcium primarily in your small intestine, and the efficiency of that absorption depends heavily on your gut pH level. When your intestinal environment is too alkaline, calcium molecules pass straight through without being absorbed. Potassium and magnesium work together to maintain the slightly acidic conditions that calcium needs to cross the intestinal wall and enter your bloodstream. A 2020 study published in the Journal of the American College of Nutrition examined 175 postmenopausal women over 16 weeks. The group that consumed 40 grams of dried figs daily, which is about 5 to 6 figs, showed significant decreases in a urinary bone resorption marker called NT6. This marker measures how fast your body is breaking down bone. A decrease means your bones are being preserved rather than dissolved. The reduction was 12.6% compared to the control group. That is substantial for a simple dietary addition with 0 side effects. But there is another mechanism at work here that makes figs truly special for anyone over 70. The prebiotic fiber in dried figs, specifically a type called pectin, feeds beneficial bacteria in your large intestine. These bacteria produce short-chain fatty acids as a byproduct of fermentation. A 2019 study in the Journal of Bone and Mineral Research demonstrated that short-chain fatty acids directly stimulate calcium absorption in the colon. This means dried figs essentially unlock a second absorption pathway that most other calcium sources cannot access at all. Your small intestine handles the first round, and then your colon picks up what was missed, thanks to the prebiotic fiber fueling that process. The best preparation method for maximum benefit is to eat dried figs as an afternoon snack, paired with a small handful of almonds. The magnesium in the almonds further enhances the calcium utilization. Avoid soaking dried figs in water beforehand because this can leach out some of the water-soluble minerals. Choose organic Turkish or Kalamurna figs whenever possible because these varieties consistently test highest in calcium content per gram. 5 to 6 figs daily is the dose used in the clinical research, and it is easy to maintain because dried figs are naturally sweet and satisfying. Your bones get a steady supply of highly absorbable calcium without any of the arterial risks that come from popping a supplement tablet. But the next food on this list takes bone protection to a completely different level. Number 3. Bok choy. If you think leafy greens and calcium do not go together, this will change your mind forever. Bok choy is a type of Chinese cabbage that delivers calcium with an absorption rate that puts almost every other food source to shame. 1 cup of cooked bok choy contains about 160 milligrams of calcium, which sounds modest on paper. But here is the critical number that changes everything. The absorption rate of calcium from bok choy is approximately 54%. Compare that to milk, which has an absorption rate of about 32%, and calcium supplement tablets, which typically range between 25 and 30% depending on the formulation. This means that the 160 milligrams of calcium in bok choy actually delivers roughly 86 milligrams of usable calcium to your bones, while a glass of milk with its 300 milligrams only delivers about 96 milligrams. The gap between these two foods is far smaller than the raw numbers suggest, and bok choy does it without any of the digestive issues that dairy causes in the estimated 68% of the global population with some degree of lactose intolerance. The reason bok choy achieves this extraordinary absorption rate comes down to one factor. It is extremely low in oxalates. Oxalates are compounds found in many vegetables, especially spinach and Swiss chard, that bind to calcium and form insoluble crystals your body cannot absorb. Spinach contains over 600 milligrams of oxalates per cup. Bok choy contains less than 20 milligrams. A landmark study published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition measured calcium absorption directly using isotope tracers in 22 older women and confirmed that bok choy calcium bioavailability exceeded 50% consistently across all subjects. The same study found spinach absorption rates below 5%, meaning you would need to eat more than 10 cups of spinach to match the usable calcium in 1 cup of bok choy. Beyond the calcium itself, bok choy provides significant amounts of vitamin K1. One cooked cup delivers about 58 micrograms, which is roughly half the daily recommended intake. Vitamin K1 activates a protein called osteocalcin that functions like a molecular escort, grabbing calcium from your blood and physically depositing it into your bone matrix. Without sufficient vitamin K, calcium tends to accumulate in your arteries instead. A 2017 study in the journal Osteoporosis International followed over 3,500 older adults for 4 years and found that those in the highest quartile of vitamin K1 intake had a 22% lower risk of hip fracture. The best way to eat bok choy for bone health is to lightly saute it in olive oil with garlic for about 3 minutes. Light cooking actually increases the bioavailability of both calcium and vitamin K by breaking down cell walls without destroying the nutrients. Add a pinch of black pepper, which contains piperine, a compound shown to enhance nutrient absorption by up to 20%. The food at number 2 works through a mechanism that most people have never even heard of. Number 2. Natto. This traditional Japanese fermented soybean dish is arguably the single most underappreciated bone-building food in the world, and the science behind it is genuinely remarkable. Natto is made by fermenting cooked soybeans with a specific bacterium called Bacillus subtilis. The fermentation process produces enormous quantities of vitamin K2, specifically the MK7 form, which is biologically distinct from the vitamin K1 found in leafy greens and performs a completely different function in your body. One standard serving of natto, about 100 grams, contains approximately 1,000 micrograms of vitamin K2 as MK7. To put that in perspective, that is roughly 10 times the amount found in any other food on Earth. And vitamin K2 and K7 is the key that unlocks the entire calcium delivery system in your body. Here's how it works at the molecular level. When calcium enters your bloodstream, it is essentially floating without direction. Vitamin K2 activates 2 critical proteins. The first is osteocalcin, which grabs calcium and pulls it into bone tissue. The second is matrix GLA protein, which removes calcium from your arterial walls and soft tissues where it causes damage. Without vitamin K2, calcium goes to all the wrong places. A groundbreaking 2013 study published in Osteoporosis International followed 244 postmenopausal women for 3 years. The group receiving MK7 supplementation equivalent to a daily natto serving showed significantly preserved bone mineral density at the femoral neck, which is the most fracture-prone area of the hip. The control group lost bone density steadily over the same period. Even more impressive, a large Japanese population study published in the Journal of Nutrition tracked over 72,000 participants and found that those who consumed natto regularly had a 35% lower risk of hip fracture compared to non-consumers. This was not a supplement study. This was real people eating real food, and the protective effect was enormous. Natto also provides about 217 milligrams of highly bioavailable calcium per serving because the fermentation process breaks down phytic acid an anti-nutrient in soybeans that normally blocks calcium absorption by up to 60%. Fermentation eliminates this barrier almost entirely. The best way to eat natto if you are new to it is to mix it vigorously with chopsticks or a fork until the sticky strings become frothy. Then add a small amount of soy sauce and hot mustard. Eat it over warm rice. The heat from the rice makes the texture more palatable without destroying the vitamin K2, which is heat stable up to about 150 degrees Celsius. Start with a small portion every other day and gradually work up to a full serving daily. Many people find that the flavor grows on them within 2 weeks. If you genuinely cannot tolerate the taste or texture, you can blend a small portion into miso soup, where the flavor becomes virtually undetectable while retaining full nutritional benefit. But the number one food on this list outperformed everything in clinical trials, and the results left researchers genuinely stunned. Number 1. Dried prunes. This is the food that changed everything scientists thought they knew about dietary bone protection. Dried prunes, also called dried plums, are not just mildly helpful for bone health. They are the single most effective whole food for reversing bone loss ever documented in clinical research. That is not an exaggeration. That is what the data shows repeatedly across multiple rigorous human trials. The landmark study that put prunes on the map was conducted at Florida State University and published in the British Journal of Nutrition in 2011. Researchers enrolled 160 postmenopausal women and divided them into 2 groups. One group ate 100 grams of dried prunes daily, roughly 10 to 12 prunes. The other group ate the same amount of dried apples as a control. After 12 months, the prune group had significantly higher bone mineral density in both the ulna, a forearm bone, and the lumbar spine compared to the apple group. The prune group actually reversed bone loss that had already occurred. The apple group did not. Blood markers confirmed the mechanism. The prune group showed dramatically lower levels of TRAP5 bits and bone-specific alkaline phosphatase, both direct indicators of bone breakdown and turnover. A follow-up study in 2016 published in Osteoporosis International found that even 50 grams of prunes daily, which is just 5 to 6 prunes, was enough to prevent bone loss in older postmenopausal women over a 6-month period. The biological mechanism behind prunes is multifaceted and powerful. Prunes contain exceptionally high concentrations of polyphenolic compounds, particularly chlorogenic acid and neochlorogenic acid. These polyphenols act as potent antioxidants that directly suppress osteoclast formation. Osteoclasts are the cells responsible for breaking down bone, and chronic low-grade inflammation in aging bodies keeps these cells overactive. Prunes essentially calm down the inflammatory signals that drive excessive bone resorption. Additionally, prunes contain boron, a trace mineral that most people have never heard of, but that plays a critical role in calcium metabolism. Boron helps your kidneys retain calcium instead of excreting it in urine. A study from the USDA Grand Forks Human Nutrition Research Center showed that boron supplementation reduced urinary calcium loss by 44%. Every prune you eat is helping your body hold on to the calcium it already has. The best protocol based on the clinical evidence is to eat 5 to 6 dried prunes daily as a mid-morning or afternoon snack. Choose prunes without added sugar or preservatives. Some people find that soaking them in warm water for 10 minutes makes them softer and easier to chew. Pair them with a few walnuts if you like, as the omega-3 content adds complementary anti-inflammatory benefits. Consistency matters more than quantity here. The women in the studies who saw results ate their prunes every single day for months. This is not a food you eat once in a while. This is a daily bone-building habit that costs less than $1 a day and has more clinical evidence supporting it than any calcium supplement ever produced. So there you have it. 5 foods that science has proven work dramatically better than calcium supplements at building and preserving your bones. from sardines and their built-in vitamin D delivery system to dried prunes and their ability to literally reverse bone loss. Every single one of these foods uses your body's natural pathways to get calcium exactly where it needs to go. No arterial calcification, no kidney stone risk, just real bone protection from real food. If you found this helpful, please hit that subscribe button so you never miss another video like this. Thank you so much for watching.